You ever have one of those friends that just ask you too many questions? Like, who did you vote for? What is your favorite color? I don't fucking know. Blue, pink, rainbow. I don't discriminate. So I have one of those friends, and they asked me the other day, "Why are you here?" And I think they meant like, "Why am I here at this school?" And like, my response was pretty simple. I mean, I was like, "I'm here because I'm doing business and like film, TV shit because I want to, make movies and TV because that was what helped me growing up. It was a good escape. It helped me not feel alone, and I want to do the same for other people. Because I know what it's like to feel alone, and I want to do that for other people, and that's what I told them. And then I thought, well, maybe that's just the story I tell myself, the narrative I've written about my past to give myself a reason to live. That's an interesting concept to think about. Because a lot of people like feel down about themselves, like their life is so bad, like their entire life they've just been struggling and struggling and struggling. And maybe that's just the perspective they've adopted to live the way they want to choose to live. If that makes any sense. Like in the last video I talked about, some people choose to not be happy because they're trying to live up this expectation of a narrative in the future. But what about if there's a narrative from your past that's controlling your actions now? And I think that's very true. We take like these fibers of truth from our life and spin them into a web, and we look at that and we go, that's me. That's who you were. And because of that, you're choosing to be something, either the same thing or to be different because of that. Like if you had a bad past, you're like, I want to be good now. I struggled and now I want to succeed. Or if you had like a really good thing going, you're like, I want to keep that going. And then there's like friction if things get bad because you're like, oh, I want to keep things good. And so that's all to say that understand the narrative of your past. Like life itself is a blank canvas, and every step we take is like paint drops falling on the canvas. And in the end, we can look back and see this beautiful abstract art piece and say, wow, that means that. But like, who really understands abstract art to look at it and say that it is one thing or another is purely subjective? And you can view your past in many different ways. If you don't like who you were or who you are, look at your life differently. It's not the experience that we take with us. It's our understanding of the experience, what we took away from the experience. So like if you got bit by a dog and you take away that all dogs are dangerous, that's what you took away. If you got bit by a dog and you decide, oh, that dog's a little dangerous, that like it's what you take away that really matters, not the experience itself. So if you dig into those experiences, a lot of the harder stuff, the trauma, which you could get a therapist or whoever to help you with that. If you dig into that stuff, you might understand it from a different perspective. And that will completely, fundamentally change your life. It'll fundamentally change your actions now. Because it's really what your story from before that's compelling you to act a certain way. So for me, what does that look like? I mean, there's many instances where I felt like controlled by my past in a way. Like for a while, I threw shot put, discus, and javelin in high school. I'm a very short guy. And so for me, the story of that was like, oh, like I was short, but like I wanted to succeed and I wanted to be good at it. And I wasn't, because that's just how nature works, my guy. And like I was also kind of like a leader in the group, and I was very confused about that. I mean, like my coach gave this wonderful little speech at the end of our indoor track season where he was like commending me on leading the group and being there to help. And I didn't feel like a leader for a while, mainly because I wasn't the best on the team, which I know is a ridiculous thing to say. Not all leaders are the best players, but I thought that's what I had to be to truly lead. And there was a bit of like, I guess, imposter syndrome in a way. But I realized, like, looking back on it now, looking back at that abstract art piece and trying to view it from a different angle, I can see that I was a leader because I never gave up. Like, I was grinding on the off season, in season, working really hard, trying to perfect my form. And also, I also took the time to get to know everybody there, to be nice, to teach people. And that is what, that and like my innate ability to just be responsible is what made me a leader. Um, it's because, like, me, I would like to think, if I'm really gonna glorify this, I would like to think that the fact that I really had no chance, but I was still trying, probably, I would like to say harder than most people on the team, gave some of the other guys who had doubts no reason to like make any excuses. Because it's like, if I'm still trying, why should you give up? If the guy who's naturally gonna be shit at this is still trying, then like, why should you give up? I would like to believe that that's what made me a good leader, uh, and that's the story I try to take with me is the fact that you never give up in something proves that you belong there. That's all that really matters. Um, and like also being nice to people, like making an effort to know people, to be kind to them, to treat them with respect, to help teach them in a way that's not like a vertical relationship. Like a vertical relationship is like, I'm above you and you have to listen to me. That doesn't really work out in a lot of leadership roles. You need to have a bit more of a horizontal. Like, we're equals. I'm gonna help you. Like, can you help me with this? Like, I want you to critique my form now. That sort of stuff. Make it more collaborative. You know, and that's kind of what I've taken forward with me. I've taken a lot of good things from who I was in high school and tried to amplify the good parts here and slowly push out the bad. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job at that. I'm in a decent amount of friends here, and it's been really great. So what can you take away from this? I mean, I think the most important thing is that the story you have of your past now, or the idea you have of your future, is subject to change based off of what perspective you take. So even if this storyline that you have for your future completely falls into place, it's still, your perspective may change somewhere along the way, and you might not be satisfied because, I think when we're talking about goal setting and we're talking about like achieving something, why are most human beings driven to achieve something? Actually have a very interesting little theory about this one. I think that most of us never experience and never will experience unconditional love. I think that as kids, our parents, like, all the love hit when you achieved something. Like when you hit that first home run in Little League, or when you got your first A on a test, that's when all the love came in. And that, like, the day to day, they cared about you, but it wasn't as big. Like, if you really wanted that, to hit that high of like, oh shit, like, I did something, it was achieving something. And so that's why I think we still chase something, because in the end we're still chasing love. Most problems don't come from like hate or anger or fear. It's an absence of love. And I think that's in the end what we're really chasing. Like, if you have this goal and you're like, everything will be good when I get there, when I get a six pack, when I get this promotion, you're taking that conditional love of doing something good will make you happy, and you're putting it on yourself. You're putting that condition on yourself. When I get here, I'll be this, instead of looking around and saying, well, what can I change now about my perspective, about my situation, to make me happy here? Because I feel like you get to a point where you're like, do I let the self-hate drive me to success, or do I find confidence in who I am now? And I think the fear behind finding confidence in who you are now is this idea that you'll be complacent. Like, if I'm confident in who I am now, I'm not going to want to change. I don't think that's true. I think you can be proud of what you've done, look back and be like, wow, I've actually grown. Like, I've told myself that my story is this, but if I really look at it from an objective standpoint, I've grown. I've changed from this point to this point. and realize like, oh, that actually took a whole lot of time for me to grow. Maybe I should give myself more patience, you know? Being confident, like, oh, like, no, I've actually really changed. Comparatively to some other people, maybe that's what's fucking me up. But if I compare to myself, oh, I've actually changed and this is great, you know? And be confident, like, oh, no, like, I grew, I can grow, I will continue to grow. That's what you're confident in. Continuing to want to grow, to be better, not to be the best. Because you're not going to be the best. But you can always get better with every day. So, like, that's where the confidence comes in. It's not complacency. It's you are still confident in where you are. Like, wow, I grew. I'm recognizing my whole journey. I've grown from beginning to now. And saying, but there's still so much more. And, like, I want to grow and be better out of, I guess, this sort of inherent greed that we all have. But not really from a standpoint of, like, I hate myself, I need to fix it. I think that's really bad. It really is when it comes to goal setting and all this stuff. Anyways, that was a lot of rambling, a lot less structured. But hey, that's what this is. So to sum it all up, the story of your past doesn't define you, nor does the story of your future. Everything can be looked at from a bunch of different angles. So in reality, you're the only one holding yourself back from being happy now and being happy in the future. From being angry now, from being angry in the future, from being sad now, being sad in the future. Bad things will happen. I know that. I fucking know that. But it's what you can take away from those bad things. If you can find one glimmer of hope and say, this is what I'm going to hold on to. You know? That is what will help define your story. And it is hard to do sometimes. It really is. But it gets better over time. If you compile all of these small glimmers of hope, all of a sudden you have a beam of light. And that helps guide you forward. It's really easy to hold on to the hate and the anger and let that drive you forward. You know, it's really easy to see the reds and the dark blues in your abstract painting. But if you look for like the yellows and the oranges and the bright colors, and when you're looking back on it all, I think you'll be a whole lot happier, you know, with what you've accomplished instead of what you failed to do. Just be patient with yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself time. Try to look at things from different perspectives. It's hard, but you gotta look at things from different perspectives. Because the way you're seeing the world now is not the only way to see the world. It's not the best way. There is no best way. It is just one way. And you can control that. You control how you view the world. So maybe if you want to be happy, choose to look at things from a more positive, from a more joyful, from a more happy lens. And you'll only really, it's not that you only see happiness. You will feel every emotion, but your life will be better. That's it. That's all for today. Till next week, I guess. Who knows?